Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for Alpha 2 of Update 76 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start, as always, with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, we have another long-requested feature, just the beginning of it, as we only have one primary example of it working. That's right, finally, we have attachable weapon systems for other weapons. And to start it out, the probably most commonly known M203 grenade launcher in two different patterns for you to use. The first of which is this is the sort of classic version, including some mounting hardware that actually would have gone in real life underneath the handle on the rifles it attached to. This is only compatible with the M16A1 and the M4 Classic. I'm going to fix it here. We'll just pop on, release. And the way these work is that this isn't just an attachable weapon system, this is also an attachable foregrip. So when I grab it here, this becomes a foregrip for the weapon, allowing me to use the virtual stock, get the stability I need, as well as pull the trigger to fire it. So let's go ahead and ready our entire rifle here. Let's load that up. Let's grab ourselves a grenade, spawn lock that, come on over to our range, spawn a couple SOSIGs. So we just grab this 4 here, slide it open, pop around in, slide it shut, and we can now grab this, pop this over to full auto, and I can just fire with my main hand, and then fire the grenade with my forward hand. Boom! Haha, wonderful. Pop that out. Tap that. Close that. Ready to go again. Blammo! So there you have it. Our first attachable weapon system. Now, obviously, as I said, this version of it only is compatible with our M16, but that wouldn't be very fun. So we have another version of the M203 that has a standard Picatinny mount. So if you wanted to, say, throw it on a SCAR here, you could do so, or you could pick something even more preposterous like a handgun. I will leave such tomfoolery to the community to post this week on the subreddit, as I'm sure they will. We can also take one of our more utility grenades and pop that in there, so you can have essentially a backup shotgun round ready to go. Let's run back over here. Clear all. So there we go. Same concept. Grab the 4. Going around. Firing our rifle rounds. Oh no, one snuck up on us. Use the underbarrel. Whammo! There goes his meaty head. So there you have it. I imagine this will, especially once I get this actually loaded in and come up with intelligent ways of sort of spawning attachments that are cross-compatible with other guns and taking hold, which I totally don't have working at the moment. I think this will provide a whole bunch more unique sort of equipment configuration opportunities. Blammo. Let's come back over here. So, what else? So, one thing you may have noticed while I've been playing with various objects is we've got some new sounds in. I've been working on a system with Patrick. It's not done yet. There's still a bunch more samples that needs to go in. Some logic needs to be tweaked. But we now have grab sounds and sounds for objects going into holsters, both just to add more tangibility to interactions, but also to help give you further confirmation that you've done something like successfully drop something in a slot, especially over the shoulder. So you could hear there. I've grabbed it, and then I'm putting this in my over-the-shoulder slot. awesome. And of course, there's a whole bunch of different grab sounds for things. And that collection will only increase over time. Oh, wonderful. I'm immediately in love with those changes, personally. Both, as I said, it's not just about the experiential sound. It adds so much utility. I don't know how I've lived without it. One thing I wanted to show off that was actually added last week, but I forgot to mention in the devlog, but deserved some discussion, is actually this set of super old school silencers, technically suppressors, but what a lot of people don't know is when these were sold as the Maxim silencers, about 120 years ago or so, which was also a day and age where most advertising, even more so than now, was, shall we say, less than honest. So the fact that these were called silencers, in air quotes, was perhaps not the most accurate representation of them, but you'll notice the difference is basically these were originally sold with sort of a coupling, primarily for firearms that didn't have screw mounts on their barrels, so I basically put in a version of each with and without that coupling, purely for your aesthetic preferences. What else? Oh yes, I have attempted to fix a lingering thing that's been a pain in the butt for a lot of folks with pump shotguns, which is that regardless of where you grabbed on the fore, the fore of the shotgun foregrip would sort of jump to your controller, especially if you grabbed it up and close. These now work the way handgun slides are, which I'm going to turn on my controllers momentarily so you can see this. Remember, because this is a foregrip, the point that matters on your hand is your palm point. So if I grab this up here and then move it, it will move like so, but I can also grab it here, and it will move from that point too. Let me actually, because I always look down, I want to make sure that's actually on the recording. Grabbing it there, grabbing it there. So this allows, especially because some of the shotguns are larger, or you may have different amounts of clearance or length of arms. So when you're using a shotgun, what I would definitely suggest is get it up into your shoulder first, and then determine at that moment if you want to grab it close, like so, or if you want to grab it far away. Oh, that's that acting silly. Let's try that again. Oh, it's just the difference between the one-handed and two-handed virtual stock. I still need to make that work better. Meh. Anywho, that's as good as I can get it for now. Hopefully I can improve that more later. And then, a last little tweak that I thought some folks would enjoy. With our jiggle bones, we finally have the forestrap on the Mac 11. And along the way, in terms of doing that, I also made it so that it's stock. It no longer erroneously gives you a stock position when it's collapsed. And that now makes sound. Pop that in there. And we can now actually grab that fore. And of course, still probably hit nothing because it's Mac 11. What was it that was said about this? It was suited only for combat in a phone booth. Wonderful. So that is what I've got for you folks this week. I have nothing is in the item spawner yet. Just so you know, and I've left out the critical objects from last week, but probably not everything because I haven't had time to load stuff in there. It takes a whole bunch of time to do, but most things. Oh, the Mosin bayonet is fixed. Ooh, and one other important fix. I didn't actually test this. Let's see if this is the case. Let's dump some rounds out from this. You should be able. Yep, you can now single load this through the top, like you were able to when it was just an internal magazine. Boom! Wonderful. So let's jump out of VR and talk about what the plans are for the coming week.
Yo!
So let's go over the rest of the changelog super quick. There is some important stuff in there. The M60 also now has a correct sort of jiggle bone functional foregrip handle. The M249's carry handle now actually works the way it's supposed to. I wasn't aware of the fact that it didn't actually swing freely. So the way it now works is that by default, it's sort of in like this position with the handle down here. And when you grab it, it's properly rotation locked up to the top, which I hope is more accurate to the real thing. I have improved a couple edge cases in terms of pose behavior when a foregrip is super close to the primary grip. The main case being like if you had a small handgun with an under rail and you squeezed a foregrip right in at the base, sometimes you'd go to grab it and the gun would just like single frame flicker in a way that you couldn't even grab the foregrip to be able to detach it. That should be fixed, or it's about as fixed as I know how to make it at this point. I've improved the attaching behavior for most muzzle devices, giving them a sort of larger, sort of valid range for attachment, so they should flicker way less often. What else? We talked about the pump shotguns. Bayonets can no longer be attached when they are currently stabbed into something. They can no longer be detached when they are currently stabbed into something. I'm still working on a couple of those edge cases to prevent unusual behavior because systems assume that a hierarchy of objects is in a given state when something is happening. So I'm still closing some of those edge case bugs, but we're getting there. I fixed the default muzzle state being wrong on a bunch of firearms that had integrated suppressors. They should now be suppressed by default. I fixed the broken carry handles, unlike the FAL Para. Put in some missing sounds. Fixed the Gram 2000 should have always had a muzzle attachment mount. Now it does. Yeah, and that is fixed attachable foregrips not being removable, which I broke in the last alpha, and you can no longer use a speed loader when the cylinder on a revolver is completely closed just by slamming it onto the back of it. The swing arm actually has to come at least partially open. So yeah, so that's just about everything for this update. What's going to be happening over the next week is honestly a lot of drudgerous work that I have to do. I have to load all of these new objects, the dozens of them, into the item system along with all of the metadata that goes with it. And what I'm going to be doing, especially to deal with some of the longer load times that some folks loading off of regular drives deal with, and the fact that I'm always sort of flirting with disaster with how large the primary firearm bundle for the game is I'm going to be trying to split a few things apart and doing a sort of loading behavior test with next week's alpha, which should be the last alpha of update 76. So that one's pretty important. I've been doing a lot of staging system work along the ways of sort of abstracting and separating certain sorts of assets. So when I split the various firearms into sub-bundles, they don't all say reference unique copies of really large assets and then load duplicates of those assets into RAM. Keeping a game running with like 300 firearms and all of their attachments running at any given time has proven quite the challenge from a RAM management standpoint. But I think I've been inching my way towards some improvements that I'm finally ready to complete and deploy in alpha form, and hope they work. So that's going to be what's coming next week, with probably a few other little toys to make it worth you folks all downloading and bearing with any problems with it to make sure that it works. And then one other little piece of business that I wanted to address that's a little bit of a tangent, but I felt it was necessary to do due to some recent events. Every now and again, some sort of tiff or argument or what have you will occur between me and someone online, either someone who just has differing views or someone who's outright a troll and is just trying to attack me, or somewhere on the gradient in between. And I just wanted to put it out there just to anyone who ever feels the sort of need in that moment to like go after that person, whether it's just being really mean and crappy all the way up to escalating to like threatening that person. Don't ever do that in my defense, or just in general. Like, that's just a bad idea to do in general, but especially in my case, seeing as you're watching me here, or if it's something involving me, I really ask you to not do that. It doesn't help. It's not smart, both for you and just for like the general state of like discourse online in general. So I just wanted to put that out there. Because yeah, it's one of those things that can feel like you're helping and it can feel good when you're doing it, but it doesn't really help. It isn't really constructive at all, and oftentimes it just antagonizes someone to want to create even more problems if that was what they were doing in the first place. So I've said my piece on that, but that's my one big request to all of you folk out there. Anywho, that's about it for this week. I hope you all have fun playing with the M203, and I look forward to seeing just how ridiculous the Picatinny version of it looks, or many versions of it look, on all sorts of all sorts of firearms. I hope you have fun with it. I will lay a whole bunch of them out in the proving ground, seeing as it's not in the item spawner yet, so you can put too many of them on one platform if you see fit to. Anywho, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Peace.